Welcome to Sally Speaks. This is my podcast that I post up every Monday for those people that are really looking to improve their personal development, their growth, have some insights into those people that have been successful and the habits that they have that have created that success. And today I am so excited to welcome not only a very good friend, a colleague in business and a number of different ventures that we've been in, but my friend Kristine Carlson Sales, or Kristine Sales, you might see either of those handles on the internet. So Kristine has been in my life for about, what is it now, 7 years or so? At least.
At least. I guess time flies.
Seems like we've been lifelong friends, and there's a reason for that. Kristine has been a teacher in her first life. She taught elementary school. And from that, you'll learn, as we're going through today, you'll probably see a lot of the traits that she brings forward in developing her teams on those traits that she has developed from having been a teacher. Not only that, but she has an amazing family dynamic where she has 3 daughters that have been athletes that have risen to such high levels. And she'll talk to you a little bit about that. But it's because of her influence and her behaviors that we're going to talk about today, which is the power of vision combined with faith. And so you'll hear that as she's talking throughout our session today. But after leaving teaching, she was drawn into an opportunity so she could be more present with her family. And she worked in an entrepreneurial business in direct sales and became one of the top leaders in the organization. And so you'll see a little bit about that and those characteristics, why she's as fantastic as she was in direct sales. And she hopped out for a while to jump into corporate leadership. And that's where I really started to get to know Kristine. We worked together side by side. We actually traveled and did some speaking at a global event. We wrote a book together. I just happened to pull that out so you could see our names together. So we actually did this venture together, and we really had a lot of really amazing opportunities that showed up for us. But then we both left our corporate leadership roles and we both went back into entrepreneur. And so Kristine is going to share a little bit about her journey and how she's grown another massive organization in this direct sales business that she's gone back to, and why that's important to her. So Kristine, thank you for joining us today. As usual, we have such a great conversation every time we get together. But maybe tell us a little bit about your journey from your perspective, because you've had a lot, every time you've touched anything, it's led to success. So maybe you could talk a little bit about how you believe and what you think has driven you toward that success.
Sure. And I think one of the things that comes to mind as we're chatting is how grateful I am to myself that all along the way I've been willing to be a risk taker. And I think that that's a really important point to make, because in the beginning, in my first career as a teacher, I was 17 years old when I graduated high school and went to university. And you follow status quo quite often as a youngster. You are who you hang out with. My mom had been a teacher and she really was encouraging me to do that. So, I got that university degree and off I went and got that first job. I was a very young teacher when I started. I was 21 years old when I had my first classroom. Sally, I remember parents in the first week staying in the back of the room because they were so concerned about this young, almost childlike person teaching their kids. But that didn't last long. We gained trust, and I had a really amazing experience in the career that I was in as a teacher. I very quickly began to see that other people were living a different lifestyle than I was. And I was wondering, how do they do that? Like, how does somebody drive a Mercedes or a BMW? Or how do people gain these lifestyles that to me seem untouchable, because it's a lifestyle maybe that I wasn't raised in? And I think for a lot of people that might be listening to the podcast, they probably wonder the same thing, or they tell themselves lies that keep them in the place they are today. Things like, this is just where I belong. This is the lifestyle I was born into. Oh, wouldn't it be nice to have been born into a different circumstance?
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, Sally, somebody created that circumstance. If it wasn't the person living it, it was somebody who came before that, and we call that legacy. And I started to become really motivated to create a new legacy for my own children. I thought, if this is the normal that I have, because it's what I grew up in, and I'm not dissing it. My parents gave me an amazing life. I had a wonderful childhood. I was never in need. I was involved in sports. We had a good life. But I was watching other people and thinking, how could we raise the bar on this? And through some life circumstances and opportunities that were thrown my way, and my, I think, willingness to take some risks, I discovered from my perspective that the best way to earn money was to be in sales, because I started to see how you could take the lid off your earning. Now, keeping in mind, I had come from a government position as a teacher. I had ceilings, and I had come to recognize the only way I would get a raise once I did my 10 years, because in the contract I was in, every 10 years I would get a bit of a raise, and then it would top out.
Mhm.
So unless I went to university and increased my education, became an administrator, like a principal of a school, or a part of the school district scenario, this was going to be my income for the rest of my life. And that didn't feel good. Now, add to that, my kids had dreams of their own. So that had me really motivated, and my husband as well, to be able to support those dreams. And Sally, I think
Yes.
because I was a teacher and I had done all kinds of workshops and university courses on, leading children and how to communicate with them, how to, get them to open their minds and expand their learning. When my daughter said to me, I'm going to go to the Olympics, and she was 5, my human instinct was to say, oh, honey, even if, you become a skating coach, or, and I was going to really downplay it. But then something rose up, and I said to her, anything you dream is possible.
Mhm.
You can do it. And that really changed things. And I didn't realize how powerful that was in that moment. And so been driven by supporting those dreams for a long time now.
Mhm. Well, I think one of the things I know that I've learned throughout my development, and also what I teach others, is that oftentimes as children, we know, well, not oftentimes, children are open to possibility. They're open to their imaginations. They believe what they see. They're looking out the window at school and they're thinking about other things that they would rather be doing, or things that they could create, and we shut them down, right?
Yes.
And so we learn very young age, because of our school systems and parental systems, that we learn to shut out the possibilities and those dreams. And we stop ourselves from really being open to that. And so, I'm glad that as a teacher yourself, you saw that there was a different way to be able to work with your own children, and probably some of your students as well, that allowed them to actually believe that their dreams could come true. Because so many of us can't see the possibility for ourselves and don't know how to support that. So then we shut it down. So tell me a
Yeah.
little bit about how you and Dustin went around that to be able to make sure that Haley and Emmy and Ashley were all
And
supported with
Ashley,
their
yeah.
dreams.
Well, when the kids were little, after the third one was born, Emily, and I was on maternity leave, it was time for me to go back to work. And I really felt strongly, Sally, that there had to be a better way than being away from the kids to be able to create a life for the kid.
Mhm.
And what I really desired to do was to be able to show them that a woman can be a successful career woman, a successful businesswoman, and be the kind of mom that all of us moms innately want to be. And I think that there's a conflict in all women who have children with the work home dynamic, the work home relationship. There's a lot of pressure in society today to be an empowered woman, but I think we get a little bit sometimes lost in what does that look like? What is an empowered woman?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we're all going to decide for ourselves what female empowerment looks like. To me, female empowerment was to be a large income earner, to be able to be a business owner, running my own business, and being the biggest influence in the lives of my daughters, bigger than anyone else in their lives, i.e. teachers, daycare workers. I wanted to be that person that was the largest influence. And so I was able to accomplish that by becoming an entrepreneur. I left the teaching role and I started working a business where I could be at home with them and out in the evening sometimes with the support of my husband, creating income and building a team. So my girls saw me leading women, leading teams, bringing in income, and they recognized that I was there for all the important stuff. And I would never trade that for anything. And the other thing, Sally, that I would never trade, if I could go back and do it all again, I would do all these same things. There was a point in that career where I was having a lot of success, and my husband said to me, I want to leave my business. He was self-employed. He was in a business relationship that wasn't going that well relationally. They weren't seeing eye to eye. And, not that either one of them was right or wrong. It just wasn't a good mix. And he said to me, I'm leaving my business, Chris, and I'm going to stay home with the kids and support you because you're having so much success. And if you can live a life that you love, I know I can too.
Wow.
And he stayed home for 2 or 3 years, and he was the main caregiver. And that has created a really strong family relationship for us. As a unit with the girls, but I'll never forget the first week, Sally. I remember him saying to me, whoa, this is way harder than being out excavating, which is what his job was. It was like really eye-opening. But I would never trade that either, because that was something that I feel, that's an opportunity that I feel I was able to provide for my husband, to create that relationship with the girls. And so, when you want to look at roles in the home and take gender out of it, I'm like really proud of the fact that we were able to do that.
Well, I think that's a couple of different things that I picked up from what you're talking about right now. First of all was the understanding that there's so many people right now that are in the same situations as you and I have been in a couple of times in our careers, is where we had a great position in a corporate world or a government world, and we were attached to that income and we were attached to the status, but yet we knew there was more, right? And we wanted more, and we had to step sort of outside of when I'm hearing you as a teacher, stepping outside of the norm to say, no, this is a great career. Absolutely. People do lifelong careers in the teaching in the government system, but I want more. I want to have another balance. And at that time, it probably wasn't really popular for you to step away from that good corporate long-term career that you're locked into. It's kind of considered similar to any government position, like being in nursing, being in teaching, any of those types of professions where basically you have your job for life once you're in. And giving that up on a dream of creating a different lifestyle for your family. So I know there's a lot of people out there right now probably struggling with that same decision. I've got a good job. We need the income. How do I actually embrace that change? So what do you think was the difference for you in embracing that change to make that decision to step away from that job?
I've always put our dreams ahead of our circumstance, Sally.
I like that. I'm gonna write that one down.
Yeah. I've always put our dreams ahead of our circumstance. And when you do that, you begin to create the structure and you begin to be able to change the way the circumstances are looking because you're focused on the goal. You're focused on the positivity of the outcome. And in fact, fun little story. One day we were at a big skating competition, a national level one. For those of you skating fans out there, it was Challenge, Skate Canada Challenge. And I was riding the shuttle bus with one of the coaches from Vancouver. We were just visiting. And he said to me, and this is because we had 3 skaters at the event. He says, I don't know how you do it. I honestly don't know how you do it. It is so expensive to have a child in figure skating. He says, I have a daughter in dance. So his daughter wasn't in skating, but in dance. And he said, I find it expensive. How do you do it? And I looked at him and I said, our cash flow is the same as it would be if we didn't have kids in skating. And what I mean by that is when you have a dream and you make it a priority, everything that you do serves the dream. And so you do everything you can to make sure that you're providing for it and that it pushes you outside your comfort zone to do more than you would have done, because we humans want to be comfortable. So we find this level of comfort and we want to stay there. But when you have a dream and you're willing to make that the priority, you cause yourself to push outside of comfort, feel the pain, go with the mission, the intentionality to have the dream, and then you start to create more. And so I said to him, we bring in more income because we want to create the dream, to support the dreams. If these girls weren't doing what they're doing, we'd probably have the same cash flow. We wouldn't be working as hard, or we'd be working just as hard in less efficient or effective careers. And he looked at me and he's like, whoa, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I think that what I think a lot of people I talk to miss is that they look at the circumstance and then they decide what their dreams are going to be. We started with the dream and then we decided what the circumstances were going to be.
So that's, feeds into the title that we called this, where you have the vision first. So when you have that vision, that dream, that idea of what you would love to see for you and your family, then everything else comes into play, right? Now, what I'm hearing is we worked hard. We found a way. We adjusted who was at home with the children so that you could go out and actually do your job at a higher level because you were already generating a lot. Dustin wasn't comfortable or happy, and seeing how happy you were with your position, but also the income that it brought in to support the dream, and said, hey, here's how I'm going to kick in. I'm going to kick in to free up your time to be able to be with, do what you can do to bring that income in, and I'll take over the family responsibilities for a few years until I figure out exactly what my dream is for my business. And so when I'm hearing that, I'm hearing, wow, like what a great opportunity. And what a great opportunity for Dustin to step up, to do something that most men wouldn't do, at least at that time, right? Wouldn't have stepped up to say, I'm going to give up my career for a while you focus on your career to bring in that income until I can figure out what I want to do. So those circumstances allowed all sorts of different thoughts to come into the family to create that success and create that income to support the main dream for the girls, but also a dream for you and Dustin as far as what you were wanting to do and being able to be present with the girls at all times.
Yeah. And I think, Sally, that's what true partnership looks like. And when I look back on the journey, I see us doing that for one another at different times. So at that time, he did that for me so that I could focus completely on my career and bring about the outcome or the success that I was looking for. And then later, several years later, when, business goes in ebbs and flows and I was starting to feel tired, I was starting to feel fatigued. And I remember one time I was on a business trip out in Ontario and I called him and I said, I'm really tired. I don't know how much longer I can keep this speed up or keep this intensity up. And he said to me, you don't ever have to worry, Chris. Thank you for letting me know. And we made a switch. So I took my foot off the accelerator a little bit in mine, and he stepped up and he started working on his again. And we've switched back and forth several times. And from my perspective, and I'm so grateful to him for that we've had this partnership where we empower one another. And it's not always at the same time. It tends to go back and forth. And I think that's how we've kept a healthy relationship, because when one of us gets tired, the other one subs in. When that one gets tired, the other one subs in. So it's been really, really cool.
Yeah. And I think also in the building process, you were both working as, like, I'm just using the first direct sales business that you had. You were both working. Yours started to take off at a higher level. And he's like, how can I support you? Right.
Yeah.
And then when you were tired, okay, how can I support you? And so going back and forth and recognizing those ebbs and flows, but also the ebbs and flows in our desires and what we're feeling from what we're getting out of our businesses at that time. Right. Because I think that a lot of that comes down to when we get to a certain stage in any business or any career where we're really feeling like we're not serving our own purpose anymore, that can be a really tough transition. And I know when you and I started to connect more seriously, it was at that time where you were really contemplating a change. So tell me a little bit about that from your perspective.
Yeah, I was seeing that the career that I was in at the time was no longer the vehicle that was going to take me where I wanted to go. And again, if we were going to make, put some main points here in the podcast, or if anyone was taking notes, I would say one of the things that's important is to be willing and ready to pivot, because life is full of pivots. So I had been in a business that really took us to the next level in our lives, like a level that I was so grateful for, that I didn't anticipate before that we would get there. And then I realized I needed a new vehicle. And at that point, I needed to pivot, and I needed to do a bunch of coursework because I was looking for another career in sales. And long story short, it ended up that it was finance, which is how I met you, Sally. And then I needed to get licensed, and I had to do some pretty intensive studying. And so I was able to do that. Well, Dustin really dug in and kept things going while I did that. And then I became a manager in the financial world. And, we just kept moving forward. But I want to pop in with a faith aspect, because we told the viewers it would be vision plus faith. And this thought has just come into my mind. Faith has been so important because for some people, when they get a vision or a goal or a dream in their mind, sometimes they'll think, oh, that just came from me, from my imagination. Oh, that's silly. I could never do that. Or I'm being selfish. Maybe I'm being selfish wanting to pursue this and put all this energy and effort into it. For me, I've always believed that a vision or a dream comes to us as a gift from a higher power. And because I believe that, I'm able to lead with it. And when I lead with it, I feel, I believe, and I say these visions, these dreams, these goals, they're not just from me. It's a gift I've been given to pursue, meaning there's a journey out there for me to have this outcome. And so that's been very powerful, because I think for people who think it's just coming from their own mind, it can feel very taxing. And when the going gets tough, it's really easy to back off and say, oh, yeah, what was I thinking? But instead, I'm able to say, oh, my word, this is so hard. I need to really level up and figure out what the lesson is, because I know there's an outcome for me. It was put in my heart, and I'm pursuing it beyond all circumstances. I'm pursuing it. And I think that driving energy through faith has played a key role in continuing to bring us forward. Because I mean, let's face it, Sally, every aspect of the journey, every new pivot that comes brings with it its own pain.
Yeah.
And opportunities for failure. And of course, so many times we do make mistakes and fall down, and I guess and fail from a human perspective. But it's, what are we willing to do in that time? What's motivating us to shake ourselves off and keep going and go, oh, okay. So that's what happens when I do that.
Yeah, and it's part of the growth, right? Because
yeah,
humans are here to grow. We're here to grow, and we're here to create. And so when we're following that faith, right, and having that faith in what we can create, every step along the way is going to either show you the right way or the wrong way, or give you the strength to say, okay, well, this didn't work, but this will. And so, you know, being tapped into your faith in that such a strong belief in what your purpose is at that particular point in time, to serve others, to make a difference to others, to help others, and to create the dreams that you've always created. It's all fed by faith, right? So whether you believe in God, the universe, source, vortex, I've heard all these different things. We're all energetic beings, right? And when we tap into that energy, we're going to get support. We're going to get ideas. And when you get those, you act on them. And I've seen you just pivot just like that, right? Because something can go completely awry, but that's a learning. And it's to teach us something that we need to know to get to that next level. And you're never going to get, in my opinion, you're never going to get to that much higher level by doing the same things that you've consistently done. You have to have something that's going to trigger you to do something different. And sometimes it's a block. Sometimes it's a big hurdle we've got to get over. But once we do, the freedom and the flow of all of the goodness that we've been waiting for is sitting there waiting for us, right?
Yeah. Well, and one of the things I've really learned, Sally, is that if we want to carry more success or level up in our lives, we have to be prepared. And I use this term, and I hope it makes sense to the viewers. We have to be able to pack it like a pack sack. And if we're not prepared for it, if we haven't done the training, if we're not, fit enough, if we don't have the skills for some of the added responsibilities that come with being at that particular state of being, it's not going to happen. And, for the viewers who maybe read the good book, there's a scripture that talks about you'll never have more than you can handle. And that's in a bad way. Most people read that and they're like, oh, thank you, Lord. You're never going to put more on me than I can handle. But what about flipping the paradigm and saying, I'm never going to carry more blessing than what I'm prepared to handle. And unless I'm willing to grow and face the challenges and face the pain and learn from them and develop, it's like I'm opening myself to be able to carry or pack more of the blessing.
Yeah.
And if I'm not prepared for that, it will destroy me. It'll be too heavy. It'll injure me. It'll cause harm to me. And that's what a lot of people miss. And so when they're not willing to feel the pain, when they hit the terror barrier, the terror barrier, we call it, or that terror wall of fear, as they're looking at the next challenge, or they've been thrown a bunch of curveballs in the midst of a journey, and they want to say things like, I guess it wasn't meant to be. I guess I made the wrong decision. I guess I was off track with my goal. What they're really saying is, I'm not willing to develop and grow to the place that I need to be able to pack what's on the other side of that wall. Because if I were to get over this, go through it, go around it without actually going over it, I'll be damaged and injured on the other side. So, yeah. My motto for the year is, it's the perfect setup. Every curveball that comes, every
Yep.
negative circumstance, every time I hit the terror wall, every time I feel afraid, I say to myself, Chris, it's the perfect setup. You're being perfectly prepared to pack the blessing that's on the other side. So like, you're on track, girl. Like, just keep going. Don't
Mhm.
stop.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think, what you're saying and how you're saying it is really going to resonate with a lot of people, because we always think that the challenges that are in front of us or that we've had in the past are going to hold us to where we've always been. And I see a lot of people that hold on to those past circumstances, and they still have fear 20, 30 years later about encountering that or breaking through that. Still, they still hold on to that emotion. They still hold on to that fear or that hurt or that worry that they had at that time, and they can't break through that to see what the blessing is on their learning for going forward, to be able to move forward in a better light. And so it's very difficult for a lot of people to recognize that they do not have to own that past experience into their future. And I loved how you put it, that, this is a blessing that we get to say, what's next? What have I got that's next, that's coming for me? What's waiting for me on the other side of accepting that that's happened, but this is what's coming. And that
it's like, oh,
go ahead,
sorry.
go ahead.
I just got this analogy in my head,
so
I got to get it out before I lose it. I'm thinking of a video game, because there's a lot of gamers out there, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about how when you're doing a video game, it starts out really simple. And the reason it does is to give you an opportunity to learn the game, learn how the joystick works, to learn where all the little tools are. And it's like level 1 is the simplest level. And then as you're getting to the end of level 1, usually the antagonist in that video game just really throws more at you. Like, getting past to the next level is really tough, and you'll sit and work at it and work at it and work at it. Like, and it's like,
yeah, makes all the sounds.
it's like, you go on to level 2. Well, now you're given new little things that the buttons do on the joystick. You're given new little tools, new little, I don't know. I'll say the word weapons.
Obstacles.
I don't like the word, but yeah, well, tools that you can use, like little flashing lights, or throw this gem and you'll get 10 lives, because you earned that, because you came into level 2, but now you have new challenges in level 2. So, every time you come to the end of that level, and then at the end, there's that final punch to try to hold you down, boom, you're going to get into, I made it to the next level. It's a really cool analogy for real life, because that's really what's happening. It's like, and even when I write in my journal, I'll say, I believe Dustin and I and our family are ready. We've graduated this level. We're ready for the next level. But just because I believe it doesn't mean it's necessarily so. And so I have faith in the journey, and I trust the process, because I know that I will be ready when it comes. And I'm like, I'll often say in my journal, and when I journal, I write to God. So it's like, God, I feel we're ready. Like, we're so ready to graduate to the next level. And I don't see it happening. But then I realized, oh, there's this structure where we haven't prepared properly. Oh, there's this, or, okay, thank you. And that's why my motto, I'm repeating myself, but it's the perfect setup. I just believe that we're being set up perfectly, and not to question it, but just to flow with it.
Yeah. And I think that's, I think what you're saying is absolutely true. Sometimes we say, okay, you think you're ready for that next stage, but then you get hit back again. And, with the video games or the gaming that we have, there's a lot of setbacks that you get all the way through, but then when you advance to that next level, it feels good. And then you got to learn all of the characters, all of the obstacles, all of that kind of thing again, and then continue to grow and grow and grow. And so it is a perfect analogy, because that's exactly how life plays out. You can look at somebody and say, well, geez, they've had a sweet life. You don't know what's been going on behind the scenes in their life. You don't know what they've done to get to where that next level is. You don't know exactly what their mindset's been or all the things that they've overcome to get to that next level. And I think sometimes we look at people that are successful, whatever we call as successful. Maybe it's that they have a great family life. Maybe it's that they have wealth. Maybe it's that they live in a beautiful part of the world. All of those things we can judge people on, but we really don't know their journeys. And so I think as you're looking at people, and we've all seen people or heard of people that came from a lot of very challenged backgrounds, I'll say, or very violent backgrounds, or very displaced backgrounds, or not feeling loved. And yet they've gone on to become extremely successful in their life because they did tap into that faith and that belief in themselves, that there was something greater and that this journey was there to serve them. And I think when you think about that particular piece, and we're talking about having a vision, having your own personal vision as to where you want to be, or your family vision, like you're talking about, Kristine, but fueling it with the faith that you know there's something better and greater, and that you know that your dreams can come true, is where that faith piece comes in.
Yeah.
And so for me, you know, I've watched you for years and now you've left that corporate job. So let's talk about that decision, because that was another decision that, well, we both made at the same date to leave that corporate career. And it's been more than 3 years now. I can't believe it's been that long already. But tell me about what your decision was to go from that corporate security, great job, to going back into entrepreneurship again. What drove you back to that?
Well, I started to see restrictions, and I just don't like restrictions, Sally. I don't do well with restrictions. And that's why I realized the corporate world probably wasn't the right place for me. I knew I could have success there, and I did. I knew I had all the right skill set to do well there, to create a good reputation, to climb the corporate ladder. But I didn't like the restrictions that were put on me. Some things I couldn't control, and some things were going to be you'd have to meet people at a certain level that I didn't want to meet them at. Okay, can I just say that?
Yeah.
I just didn't want to go there. For me, I try to keep a really positive mindset. I try to always look towards what can I do to be better, rather than what can I do to be better than you. And I just, that doesn't work well in my paradigm. But I found myself, things through a process and a journey that was going on in that particular world, things were changing from the way they were when I arrived to what I was now facing. And I knew that it was tapping me. And it's like, if I were to say to you, Sally, and this will date me, but Sally, I'm playing Donkey Kong. And I'm at level 3 in Donkey Kong, which is a video game. And I'm just making the decision to play at level 3 for the rest of my life. And that big monkey guy, he's going to keep throwing these barrels at me, and he's going to keep trying to knock me off this thing. And I'm just going to stay here in level 3 for the rest of my life. And I can't stay at level 3 on Donkey Kong. I want to go to the next level, and I want to go to the next level. And so I decided I had to leave that game or to leave that career and just find something else that didn't have the limitations that I was facing there. And to be frank, they're numerous. And for those of you who are listening and you're in the corporate world, it's a noble thing to do. One of the things that's great about it is it creates a certain amount of prestige and title. And that's always fun to carry. And it's fun to talk about it out in the community. And it's fun to support other people. And so, you know, hats off to you. It wasn't a great option for me in the particular corporation, or, you know, corporate company that I was in. And so that's why I made the decision to leave.
So what was on the other side?
Well, back to entrepreneurship. I went back into network marketing. I really fit well into network marketing you know, in the corporate world, let's say I was a square peg in a round hole. I could fit well into that hole, and I was pretty stable in there, but it wasn't the perfect fit. So I fit really well into this industry because I love everything that it has to offer. So it's a good vehicle for me. It's a good vehicle for my family. It's got me, you know, back being able to attend the things I want to attend for the girls and be more present in their lives. And I really didn't like giving myself, okay, this is going to sound weird maybe to some of the listeners, but I felt like I was being bought.
Mhm.
And I felt like I had sold myself to a company, and my priority was to my children. And I know that a lot of women face this every day. This is a struggle in society today. I get it. And men, let's not just say women. There's a lot of dads out there who feel the same way. And I had something different. I can remember saying to you in the past, Sally, I've had a different life. I've lived a different life. I know that
Mhm.
life can be better, and I'm not living my best life here. And so I had to go and figure that out. And so it was a huge risk because I had to just walk away.
Mhm.
But that's where that faith comes in, because I know what I did know in my inner being is that success is out there for me, and I needed to be cognizant and open to the fact that I'm going to have to pivot,
Mhm.
pivot,
Yeah.
pivot, pivot, because I'm not going to find one train that's going to take me all the way to the end. It's going to be get off and get on this train, and not necessarily just career, but all kinds of changes.
Mhm.
So that's what happened. So I walked away and I got back into network marketing, which is my first love, and I know that. And so, yeah, 3 years later, here I am.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I think,
loving life.
there's a lot of people like us, because I had also had a couple of different opportunities to work as an entrepreneur, then went into corporate for various reasons. I had a great opportunity to advance, like you said, get those titles, get those incomes, you know, make a very healthy income and be able to live a really cool life. But at the same time, there was that pull that was like, I'm
Yeah,
not content. I'm not
yeah,
content. I'm not having the opportunity to do what I truly want to do in my life and how I want to choose to serve others. And I knew that there was a bigger vision for me. I knew there was a bigger opportunity.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
had to go
yeah,
out in blind faith as well when I left the corporation 3 years ago to figure out what that was, but to know that what was coming was going to be so much greater for me than anything I'd
yeah,
ever experienced. And so I
yeah,
know there's a lot of people like us that have been in the corporate world that are struggling with that decision. And so there are opportunities, you know, I coach people on that type of opportunity. Kristine is open to bringing people onto her team and lead those people into success in the direct sales organizations. And it definitely is an opportunity for people to really, truly think about what it is that's most important to them and how they would truly like to live their life on purpose. And that I like that word purpose, because to me, when I'm truly in that zone of living my life on purpose, everything just flows, because it's the
yeah,
purpose that I was put here on this earth to serve at that particular point in time. It doesn't mean it's not going to change down the road, but at this time, this is my purpose. And it fills me not only emotionally, but physically, mentally, and also my energy. My
yeah,
energy just comes across so much different when I'm doing something that I'm choosing to do. And I was explaining to somebody the other day about the corporate world and saying, how many times do you go into work and you know what your perfect zone is? Like, what is, like Kristine's opportunity when she was working in the sales organization that we were with in finance. She was fabulous in sales, so helping people learn how to sell, but also to coach people to success. Those were her golden points. But yet when she was asked to have to do some different reporting or some different administration stuff, that wasn't her good zone, but it was part of the job. So what would you rather do? Find opportunities where you can actually focus on those hot points that you are the best at and really make the most of them, or be struggling to try and just get those things done. I know I worked at the end of the day, every day, doing the things that I didn't like to do, that I wasn't good at, that somebody else could have done and enjoyed, but I was part of my job. And it's like,
This is why
I
I
like to
always
do
say,
it.
play your winning cards.
Exactly.
You know, so many people there, actually, there's even business coaches and motivational speakers that teach this. I just don't agree, and that's okay. You know, they'll say you want to live a well-balanced life, you want to figure out where your gaps are and really improve on those. And I disagree completely. I say play your winning cards, figure out what you're good at and go do it. Like leverage
all
it.
in.
Be the best version of you and find somebody else to do the other stuff, because that's somebody else's winning cards.
Yeah.
You know, somebody else loves that paperwork, those details, or to plan this or that or the other. But what are my winning cards? I know that I'm having the biggest influence on the people around me in a positive way when I'm using my gifts and my talents and I'm playing those winning cards. When I focus on the things I'm not good at, I'm not being very productive and I'm not happy. And so I'm not a big believer in living a balanced life. It's just not my personality, and I've tested it and I've never seen it to be true. I've never seen people have extreme amounts of success or to be able to pack larger blessings and live a well balanced life. I think balance is when you're full of joy. I think balance is when you're feeling like you're really alive. And the other thought, Sally, that came to me when you were saying to live on purpose, I've always said live a mission-based life, not a task or survival-based life. And that mission-based life means, what is your mission? And a lot of people have never sat and thought about it. In fact, you'll hear people say, you know, who am I? What am I here for? Yeah, that is important. Sit and start doing some writing. For me, it was, and I've known this for many years, to influence the lives of women in a positive way. And when I was in that corporate role, I was very cognizant of the fact that I was very limited in the amount of people that I could influence in a positive way on a day-to-day basis. I needed to find a way to influence more people on a daily basis in a positive way, because I knew it was my mission. That's how I knew I couldn't stay in that role. Because I don't mind feeling pain. I said that in this call, feel the pain and do it anyway, face your fear and get over the wall. I'm all about that. But when I'm not living my mission, I know I have to pivot. So that's the difference. And for those of you in a corporate job and you're trying to figure out, is this where I belong or not? And I'm feeling afraid to leave it. Ask yourself this question. What is your personal mission, and are you able to accomplish it there? If you are, feel the pain and do it anyway. If you're not, then pivot. That's really the answer for those of you who are listening and you don't know what to do. For me, it was simple. I'm not influencing the lives of women on a positive basis, enough of them. I mean, Sally and I were influencing each other. There were a few women and advisors and such that we could do that. But because we weren't living our mission, we ended up writing a book and getting on a stage because we knew our mission was to influence the lives of people in a positive way. So you're always going to be looking for a way to live that mission. And even if you're not quite in the right vehicle, you'll still find a way to function out of your mission, but it doesn't mean you're in the right vehicle. So, you know, that's how that book came about and such. But now I'm in a role where I'm able to influence the lives of women, numerous, unlimited amounts of women, in a positive way on a daily basis. So I know I'm in the right place. And that's really a key piece. When I'm operating within my mission, I have faith to feel the pain and do it anyway, to face the circumstances, because I know I'm operating out of a mission-based intention, not task-based, not survival-based, but mission-based.
Mhm.
And so that's a big key in activating your faith.
Yeah, and I think also when you're in that space of really making that impact based off of your mission is when all the wheels turn in your favor. They just do. Like, I mean, you could even see just now how Kristine's energy changed when she started talking about her mission. You can see the glow that happened. You can see the movement in her body. You can see how excited she got about it, and how attractive is that in attracting people to you to be able to inspire and to motivate and to create success together. And that, I think, is the beauty that I've always seen in you, Kristine, is that you have such a fire in your belly. You used to always talk about the fire in your belly. And that fire in the belly is what really inspires you, not only for creating a better lifestyle for your family, but for so many others globally in your business, because you know that there's another way. There's a different way. You've walked that path a couple of times, and you've had success with it, but it's having that true belief with that faith backed behind it, that it will be what it is meant to be for you, and that there is a much bigger story for you to write. And so I really appreciate. Do you have anything else you wanted to add today, Kristine, before I sign us off?
How much time have we got? I don't know.
We got as much time as you want, but we're about 5 minutes away.
Okay. So I have one story that's pertinent, because Haley Haley put up a post the other day announcing Nick's retirement from figure skating. And I'm getting a lot of
Haley and Nick
messages.
are first.
So Haley Sales is our daughter, and she's on, or was up until just a few days ago, on the Canadian national team for ice dance here in Canada. So about ranked fourth this year for Canada, and they've been sitting like kind of fourth, fifth for a number of years, and competing internationally, always with this dream to go to the Olympics. And I think this is a good way to end, Sally, because I started with her dream. And they're also a couple. So they're an ice dance team, but they're also a couple. And they're 26 years old. And Nick has decided to move on with his career life, because his dream, his mission in life was never really to necessarily go to the Olympics. It was a fun idea for him. It was a really amazing opportunity with a beautiful, lovely woman that he loves, to do it together. But it was never his mission.
Okay.
And so, like I said earlier, if you're living your life and it's become task-based or survival-based or anything other than mission, it's just you're not living your best life. And his true dream was to be in the Air Force, flying the airplane. And he was accepted into the Air Force last year. And so he really needed to chase that dream. And when you're doing something at such a high level, you can't have too many plates spinning. So he retired from figure skating. Well, Haley is still living her dream. She is on a mission. That is her mission. It's never changed. It's never wavered. She's always had that in her heart. And I mean, that's a very difficult situation for a young couple, because, here you have a fellow who wants to do that for her. He knows, he feels she needs him for that, but yet it's not his mission. There's something's not working. And so it's been like devastating and yet peaceful all at the same time. And I'm getting a lot of texts and messages. Oh my gosh, are you okay? How's it going? What a crazy situation. And the truth is, we are okay. We're more than okay. We're great, because I know the principles of life and how they work. And that's why I've said my motto this year is it's the perfect setup. And I've said to Haley, listen, hon, this is the perfect setup. It doesn't look right. It looks weird. It feels funny. But obviously there's a pivot happening. There's something coming your way that's going to take you to the next phase in your journey. And how weird it is that it doesn't involve Nick, but it doesn't. And that's okay. There's a solution. There's a plan. There's a perfect plan. There's a plan beyond what you saw that's taking you, because you've been casting your vision. You've been speaking your goals. You've been manifesting your intentions. You've spent your time in prayer. You know your vision in your heart. You've heard from God in your own spirit. You have the faith now to walk it out. No idea what it looks like. No idea who this new partner is. No idea. It looks like it's just over. And you know what she could do, what she could have done is just said, go cry somewhere and give up your dream. But Nick doesn't want that. He doesn't want her to give up her dream for his, and she doesn't want him to give up his dream for hers. It's like a really cool love story in a very interesting way. So, you know, there's peace in my heart and a lot of joy and anticipation in my spirit, because I know that this perfect scenario is coming and she's going to live her dream and walk it out. And that's where these pivots come in, Sally. And the pivots are like curveballs. And so many times, I mean, I think, and I use this word lightly, the average person, a lot of people on average, if you looked at statistics, a curveball like this comes and they catch the ball and they keep it. Instead of like throwing it back into play.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a great way to end it, because we entitled this Goals or a Vision with Faith. And I started this journey with Haley saying I want to go to the Olympics, and we're still in motion today. And that's where that particular piece is sitting right now. She's looking for a partner. She's still training by herself. She's going to the rink by herself because she's living a mission-based existence. And that mission is keeping her from quitting.
And one of the things you mentioned at the very beginning that I wrote down, dreams ahead of our circumstances, which is exactly what's happening. So keep your dreams alive. Regardless of the circumstances, it just means that the next stage is going to be bigger and better. And that's what I've recognized throughout my life. And I've recognized that in your life as I've witnessed your life for a number of years, that every time there's a pivot, every time there's a circumstance, it only gets better once we break through that barrier. And so my motto is, life is a story, make yours a bestseller. So I can't wait to
that's good.
The next stage in your career and your life, as well as Haley's at this point, and all the rest of your family, because it's been such a pleasure for us to meet with you today, feel the energy, understand how important our mission and our faith is, and being able to break through to create those dreams that we've always dreamed of, because it truly is our opportunity to make our life however we choose to live it, and to live our life on purpose and with such joy and appreciation for where we've been and where we've grown to. So thank you so much, Kristine, for joining us today.
Thank
so now
you.
How can people find you? Where can people find you?
Well, check me out on Facebook. That's a good place to start. And I love messages. So feel free to drop me a private message over in Facebook. It's Kristine Carlson Sales. And I'm also on TikTok, Kristine Sales 11. So you can find me on TikTok as well. I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, so if you have any questions, if you're interested in exploring more about what Kristine has to offer, or to learn more about the direct sales business that she's in, she's a very high up leader in the organization. She's a power to be reckoned with, and is one of the best mentors you will ever come across in your career, whether you've been in corporate or whether you've been as an entrepreneur. And so I know that we'll put all of your information down below for people to be able to find you. So a little bio in there, plus how to find Kristine on Facebook, TikTok, and wherever else she's wanting to share. And we really appreciate you coming in today.
Thanks for asking me to come, Sally, because this also helps fulfill my mission of influencing somebody's day in a positive way. So yes,
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming today. Have a great one.
Bye-bye.